the perfectly legal yet highly secretive financial mechanisms that the Pritzker family used to build an invisible American empire. We're going to examine this fascinating intersection of immense wealth, political power, and the really complex art of tax invisibility. $43.1 billion. Just let that massive number sink in for a second. That is the combined net worth of the 13 billionaire members of the Pritzker family today. It's a staggering figure, for sure. But the story of exactly how they protected, utilized, and multiplied this wealth over generations, well, that's what we're really focusing on today. Now think about this wild contrast. When family patriarch A.N. Pritzker passed away in 1986, his personal official estate showed a mere $25,000. Yeah, 25 grand. But simultaneously, $2 billion was sitting, legally untouchable, in offshore trusts. So how in the world did they pull off this incredible financial maneuvering? Let's take a look. Section 1, the rise of a dynasty. It all kicks off in 1881. Yakov Pritzker arrives in America with absolutely nothing, fleeing pogroms in the Russian Empire. Just a couple of decades later, in 1902, his son Nicholas teaches himself English and opens a Chicago law firm. But the real structural game changer? That happens in 1935. That's when Ann Pritzker begins creating offshore trusts, effectively laying down the financial fortress that would soon protect the assets of their emerging hospitality empire. And that empire officially launched when Jay Pritzker bought the very first Hyatt hotel near the LA airport back in 1957. Section 2, pioneering the offshore trust. Ann Pritzker was a brilliant Harvard Law graduate, and he operated on a very specific, kind of funny philosophy. He used to say the goal in the family was to die broke. But actually, scratch that. He didn't mean literally broke. He meant dying broke on paper, while strategically parking the real wealth in jurisdictions with strict secrecy laws like the Bahamas or South Dakota, where estate taxes simply couldn't touch it. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding this legal loophole. The grandfathered offshore trust. Because the Pritzkers set up these specific trusts in these jurisdictions decades before modern tax codes were written to close the loopholes, they get to keep using them permanently. It's like a permanent, legal, get-out-of-taxes-free card. It's an architecture that's almost impossible to replicate today. And you might be wondering, does this setup actually hold water? Well, in 1990, the IRS came knocking, demanding $53.2 million from the family. But after hiring an army of lawyers and fighting for 4 years, the Pritzkers secured an 82% discount. They settled for just $9.5 million and walked away with their massive fortune completely intact. Section 3, a $6 billion feud. Picture this. It's 2002, and 18-year-old Liesel Pritzker, along with her brother Matthew, realizes their trust funds have been emptied by their own father. She files a historic $6 billion lawsuit against her family. This unprecedented move forced open sealed records, uncovering a secret 2001 family agreement designed to quietly divide the $15 billion empire among older cousins. They eventually settled, with Liesel and Matthew receiving roughly $500 million each. A massive sum, for sure, but still just a fraction of the larger pie. Of course, a massive family feud like that is going to attract some serious attention. The IRS got involved and discovered the family had been allegedly manipulating income between high-tax and low-tax countries like Singapore and Hong Kong. So the IRS assessed another $139 million in taxes. And guess what? The family has used their vast legal resources to fight that specific bill in court for over 20 years. Section 4, Power, Politics, and Bank Failures. $428 million. That's the exact price tag American taxpayers had to foot when Superior Bank, a subprime lender half-owned by the family and formerly chaired by Penny Pritzker, collapsed in 2001 under the weight of bad loans and accounting issues. Consider the totally different realities here. On one hand, you have 1,400 Superior Bank customers, working families and retirees who lost $63 million in life savings that exceeded their insurance limits. But on the flip side, the former chairman of that very bank, Penny Pritzker, walked away completely unscathed. In fact, she was eventually confirmed by the Senate 97-1 to serve as President Obama's Secretary of Commerce. And moving into the political sphere, the numbers are just remarkable. J.B. Pritzker dropped an astronomical $171 million of his own fortune to secure the governorship of Illinois. To put that into perspective, the job pays $177,000 a year. By self-funding at a scale rarely seen in American politics, he essentially secured the power to shape major state legislation, ranging from minimum wage increases to AI research investments. Section 5. The Philanthropy Wash and Paradise Papers. By strategically donating hundreds of millions of dollars to top institutions, the family isn't just getting their name plastered on impressive buildings in Chicago. They're securing positions like a senior fellowship at Harvard, a seat on the board of Microsoft, and chairing international endowments. As the source material points out, this level of philanthropy buys the influence to shape curricula, direct research, and essentially guide the institutions that develop our next generation of leaders. When you break down the financial reality behind the charity, it gets really fascinating. The vast bulk of J.B. Pritzker's foundation funding, $225 million of it, is actually funded by inherited, untaxed proceeds flowing directly from offshore trusts in the Bahamas. It's a perfectly legal tax strategy disguised as charity that simultaneously generates immense public goodwill and incredible political capital. And if you're wondering if they still do this today, enter the 2017 Paradise Papers leak. Out of 13.4 million leaked documents, the paper trail proved that the family's decades-old strategy is fully operational today. The leak showed Penny Pritzker transferring shares to offshore trusts for her children in Bermuda, which are completely exempt from local taxes and shielded from standard U.S. scrutiny. It literally proves the system built back in 1935 is still humming perfectly in the modern era. Section 6. A $43 billion empire. Remember that one patriarch who officially died with a mere $25,000 on paper? Well, today, the family has splintered into 13 individual billionaires. They hold massive influence across private equity, real estate, and government operations at the absolute highest levels. But here's the thing. This isn't just a history lesson about past wealth. This is an active, ongoing transfer of power. The next generation is already being positioned and carefully groomed right now to inherit the trusts, direct those powerful foundations, and maintain the dynasty's firm control over their political and business interests for decades to come. I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. In a democracy, how does one family manage to legally fund massive political careers, shape global institutions, and impact the lives of everyday taxpayers, all while utilizing legal loopholes to keep their vast fortunes completely invisible? It's a wildly complex look at how wealth and structural power truly operate. Thanks for joining me.